What's up, guys? Thanks for checking out another one of our videos. Today I've got a Focus ST. It's getting an Xtreme DI high pressure fuel pump. What's up, guys? I'm Alan with Edge Autosport, and today I've got a Focus ST getting an Xtreme DI high pressure fuel pump. If you guys have a Focus RS, make sure you check out our other video where we did the Xtreme DI high pressure fuel pump install on the RS. It is a little bit different. This is the pump in question. This is from Xtreme DI. It is a very well-designed piece, well-machined, and it's supposed to get you an extra 35% more fuel flow from the stock injectors even. Like, you can run this with stock injectors and it just bolts on. You do have to tune for this, and we are going to do that later in this video. But for now, let's go ahead and get it installed. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and give our videos a like if you enjoy the content we're providing. Anyways, let's get to this install. I want to have it done by lunch. So we've got the little bracket off here on the back and the cover, and we've got this feed from the tank line. This car does have a ethanol content sensor, and so it is going to be a little bit different than if you guys are completely stock. But essentially, this port right here goes to the feed line from the fuel tank, and so we've got that removed, and we're about to take the hard line off. If you watched the Focus RS install video, we kept the hard line on the Focus RS, but for the Focus ST, it comes with a new hard line. So, it's a braided line, but it's a new high pressure line. So we're going to be replacing that. We're going to go ahead and break that loose, let it relieve some of its pressure, and then go ahead and get the pump off. So that's where the hard line goes into the fuel rail, or the high pressure line. So we're gonna go ahead and break that loose next. We got pressure relieved on the high pressure line here. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen those up some more, and this will not get reused. We do have a couple of bracket points, at least one that I can see right here, and I have a feel, I'm pretty sure that there's another one under there too that we might have to reach in there and get, but I'm gonna pull those brackets off, and then we can snake that line out of there. Okay, so we got the high pressure line out of the way. Now it's time to get the pump off. Holding on the pump are these two 8mm bolts. And to get this out, you're gonna only wanna do a slight turn at a time, like maybe a half of a turn or a full turn on each one at a time, because you want it to come out evenly with even pressure on both sides. There is a cam follower in there that the spring is compressed against the cam lobe. And so we want to make sure that we don't stress the pump or anything by it getting tweaked as you're taking it out. And so I'm going to go ahead and get that pump off. So as you can see, we got the pressure is off of the flange for the pump. So we're just going to go ahead and take these bolts out, and then we can pull the pump off. Just be very careful with this. Make sure that the cam follower stays down in there too, because you don't want, if that comes out and it sticks on, you got to make sure that you get it put back in the correct orientation. Yeah, so that's the stock pump, made in Germany. Fomoco, this is a Bosch pump still has a little fuel in it. This is a Bosch pump. And so now we can start the process of putting the XDI pump on the car now that everything is out of the way. So to get the high pressure pump installed, we have to get it lined up so that the bolts can be tightened for the flange first, and then we'll twist the pump housing into orientation with the holes that it bolts into to the flange. So the flange bolts to the pump housing on the engine, and then the pump housing here bolts to the flange, and that's how it all stays together. This flange is just floating on here, so you do have to be very careful when you're installing this that you're not tightening the flange down and separating it from the pump. So one thing we are going to do is check to make sure that the cam follower is not on a peak of the cam and that it's on a lower flat spot, and that way we don't have any pushback on the spring while we're trying to tighten the flange. So I'm just going to go ahead and pre-thread the flange bolts in here. There's a little thread locker or threaded insert in there to kind of just keep it steady. So I'm going to go ahead and start that so that it can be lined up with the holes on the housing there. So we've got the pump installed, and we had to rotate it around so that the plug over here is pointing towards the reservoir. And that is because this is the only orientation that it fits. This plug gets in the way if you turn it the other way. There's only these two bolt holes here, and they have to line up with the flange, so it can only go one of two ways, and this is the only way that it seems to orient to where it will work. Okay, so we've got the fuel pump on, physically installed. Now we've got to connect fuel lines. This was the line that was on the car. This isn't really going to matter for most of you guys because this is aftermarket anyways, but it went from the ethanol sensor to the high pressure pump, and it was too short because the XDI pump relocates the feed line to back here behind rather than on the front side. And so I had to go get a longer bit of line, which I have here, and I've connected the connectors that were on this line to this longer line, and we're going to go ahead and install that now. There. All right, so we've got that feed line now is in place, and it's still running through the ethanol sensor before it comes up here to the pump. And now we're going to need to get the high pressure line installed, which is the replacement line. However, because of the catch can routing here, we are going to have to go a little bit different than how you would do it if you're stock or if you don't have the catch can there. However, some of you who do have a catch can there, you can follow this, and it's going to be, it'll probably be a bit helpful. And this is just designed to fit directly to the stock, it fits both the stock and the aftermarket pump because it has the same kind of ball style fitting that the factory line has. Okay guys, we got the pump fully installed now, at least we hope so. We're about to do startup and make sure that it runs. So I'm just gonna get my tools out of here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and flash the map and make sure that the ECU knows that it's there, and then we can fire this thing up with the intake tube off so we can see fuel leaks, and hopefully everything will stay dry and we can go ahead and get this on the dyno. So I just finished building the base file for this car. Not that it matters for most people out there, but the 2014 and 2013 cars are a little bit different in the tables than the newer ones. They run in a closed loop state for the fuel pump that doesn't require certain data to be put in. So they are a little bit different than the newer ones, which require more data to be input in order to run properly. I've been told that this is gonna work. So here's fingers crossed. All right, we just wrapped up 91 octane, 342.9 horsepower, and 339 foot-pounds of torque. So I'm pretty happy with that for 91. I'm gonna go ahead and get a new graph set up here. We've just put about 5.5 gallons of ethanol in the tank, which should bring us to around a 50% blend. And that's E98 that we're using, by the way. Right now we're at 10.1, as you can see here on his ethanol gauge. There's 50. So now we can do a pull and see what it does on the ethanol blend. Of course, I do have to do some tweaking to get it where I need it to go. My battery's about to die on the laptop. So I'm gonna put these on. Okay, so we just finished up with the E50 tune on this Focus ST. The only mods to get us to E50 are the XDI fuel pump. It is otherwise stock fuel system, and we are running 27 pounds of boost, which is all I could get out of the internal wastegate, and it does taper off to about 25 up top. And again, that's all that the internal wastegate is gonna give me. And we were able to get to 427 foot-pounds of torque and 406 wheel horsepower. It is quite warm today, it's like 94 degrees in here. And so we are dealing with some decent temperatures, which are holding us back a little bit. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with where it's at. There's no fuel pressure drops. It's holding fuel pressure really well, and it's making good power. I do think that we might be able to squeeze out a higher ethanol blend, like maybe 60 or even 70%. So I am gonna have this customer come back with like filling up at the pump with the 85, so we should be on around a 70% blend. And we're gonna see if we can't get a little bit more. I do know that you stop making power above 60% ethanol in most cases, but it wouldn't hurt to just see if we have the fuel headroom to run full E85. That way he doesn't have to blend, and that would be a huge plus for buying this pump, especially on a turbo where you're gonna be tapped out pretty quick anyways. Now, as to whether you should do an XDI fuel pump or aux fuel, that's up to you. There's definitely some major benefits to both. So I'm gonna have to let you decide on that, because I definitely have different situations where I would pick different things, and that's too much for this video. So be looking for another video though that we're gonna do soon, where I talk about the fuel limitations of the Focus ST and what you can get with different aux fuel or upgraded pump fuel, what you can get with those mods anyways. But hope you liked the video. Be sure and subscribe to our channel, ring the bell for notifications, and we'll see you next time.